straight back in for Tex, thinks he?
He's got to get through training today, but he's freshened up and ready to go. So he'll come in, everything going well in the session this morning.
What does that mean for your forward line?
Well, it depends which way we decide to go. We coming off a good result, there's a chance we may stay a little taller ahead of the ball. We've got to be mindful of what that then exposes a little, and that's your forward pressure. If you don't clunk the ball ahead or mark the ball when you're going in, it's a little harder to keep it in your forward half. But we'll have a look at conditions, we'll have a look at how training goes today. We still haven't locked in that decision yet.
Is it something you don't have to finalise it till tomorrow? So you might make a bit of a later call on it?
Yeah, it'll definitely be a later call. We've still got, as we do every week, a number of things that we've got to clean up, make sure we get through a session today. We'll go pretty hard today. It's a 10-day break, so we'll train on the rivet. We'll get our contest stuff right, and we're going to need that coming up against the Hawks. And so, with that comes, let's get through this session first, knowing our guys are going to bash and crash, and make sure we pull up right.
What about with your backline? Obviously, you've lost 2 tools. How do you sort of replace them?
Yeah, we're under pressure there. I mean, we got Ball Ace is ready to go and has been for the majority of the season, and probably been stiff to miss out. And we've made calls where we've gone with Keane and we've gone with Butts and Murray and so on. So we do have the replacement ready to go. We know he's ready. We're also up against a team that have played a little smaller last week and have an extremely potent forward line when it comes to sort of ground ball and finishing their work off. So, never nice to lose your key defenders or lose any players to injury. But if you were going to do it any week, it's coming up against a smaller forward line. We're lucky we're not up against Carlton this week.
So Worrell ready to come back in?
Worrell's ready to play. Again, he's got to train today and get through some contact. He's ready to play. That's a decision we've got to make on whether he's been out now for 10 or 11 weeks. So we're not locked in on that decision yet, but again, it's a risk reward. What are we going to see? He's been able to move and run around. Obviously, with the injury he had, he was still able to keep himself moving. But there's a difference playing footy and that touch and match fitness that we'll have to look at.
You've been pretty hesitant
in terms of Jordan Dawson's replacement, obviously. Dan Curtin's been playing some midfield, obviously back line as well. Is he in the frame, or are you still taking that cautious approach with him?
Yeah, Dan's in the mix. And we've popped him in the midfield the last couple of weeks at SANFL level, and he's shown some really positive signs with that. So he's in the mix. The young group that stood up in the end last week, we were forced. Obviously, we lost a number of soldiers during that game, and we played a reasonably young midfield group towards the end. Now we got some stuff wrong in that scenario. It's interesting watching how the change room can be such a different environment when you do hang on like we did. We got a lot of things wrong through that scenario that we'd like to do a little better, but it fell our way, so we're really pleased with that. And there were some real positives in that as well, with Taylor on ball, and we had Dowling around the footy as well, and Saligo in there. Berry's now back playing some of his best footy. So we've got a midfield group that, although young, are really playing some good footy. The last month's been a positive one for us, and we'll make some decisions in around that for this week, off the back of the form we've had. So you might see us a little bit younger again.
In that consideration with Dan, just talk us through how far he's come in his development since those couple of games he played.
I think it's just giving him a little bit of confidence about being around the footy and backing himself in the contest. That's what we were after. He's shown us. So Dan's shown us enough with the ball in hand. He's at a really high level in that space. What we're looking for from Dan is the ability to compete when it's required at an AFL level, and it's required a lot more at an AFL level, to be able to win your own ball occasionally. And so the last couple of weeks we've seen a bit more of that from him, and that's really what we're after, him just getting some confidence in himself.
Do you think the Hawks have moved past you as one of the teams on the rise?
Oh, there's no doubt that I would say the Hawks at the moment are the informed team in the competition. I think it's what have they won? They've lost 2 in their last 11. The Geelong, they knocked us off. They've only lost to Geelong since that game. There's not a team as confident as what they are. and they deserve that. We've had a really good look at them, as you do, leading into what's coming up, and we know where they're getting their, I guess, that positive momentum from. It's a matter of how do you stop it, and are we able to execute our game plan against it. Our guys are really confident with the way we're playing our footy. We match up well, and we feel like we know where they're getting their positive momentum from. It just comes down to can we stop that?
Can you learn from them as a team with a similar list profile? What are they doing that you'd like your group to do?
They're working hard. They're working hard both ways. They're enjoying their footy. I mean, that seems to be what's out there. The noise is all about the freedom and the enjoyment, and you see that in their game. They do enjoy celebrating a goal, but they enjoy the freedom of their ball use. They've obviously worked on that a lot. But it comes off of some really hard work in their defence. They're shifting back and helping their defenders a lot. They outnumber on the ground as well as any team in the competition. So, like any team that's performing well, we keep a close eye on it. We watch them. We learn from it. How can we improve our game? And there's a lot of things that we want to do similar, and that when we're at our best, we do them. So we'll just keep working through that.
Talk us through the recovery of Lazarus Matt Crouch and where he's at in terms of
Lazarus. Yeah. Well, Matty again. He's one similar to Worrell. He's going to put his name up there to play this week, and so that's a decision that we've got to make as well. Matty's time out of the game, the experience that he'll bring to probably a young midfield group, our ability to balance that. Does he come in to support Lairdy in that space with Dawson going out? That's a decision we haven't made yet, and we don't lock those decisions in at all because we've got a session still to train, and then to pull up from that session and make sure we're okay. Matty's got also an experienced player like he will make that decision as well. He'll say, hey, I'm ready, and I think I can perform at a level that will help us. Again, that's a decision. It's not only about this week as well. We've got a young group that have played some pretty good footy of late that we want to back in also, and challenge them to go up against a really in-form midfield.
You've been pretty consistent with players that have been out for a while in terms of going back through the sample. Is that your preference with Josh and with that?
Yeah, I'd say the bigger picture stuff, yes. Yeah, it is. It's getting the touch, making sure that the balance is there. Not playing football, having time out of football, you just lose the little things. So the preference is that, but it doesn't always mean we'll make that decision. I mean, Tex for this weekend, for example, that's different when it's 1 week and we're managing. That's to freshen up. But anything, I guess, over 2, 3, 4 weeks, we'll have a good look at.
Received a response from the AFL. Re York, please explain. Re Jordan Dawson, were you frustrated to even receive that?
No, well, look, I think we've got probably one of the best medical departments there is. Our doctors are exceptional, the way they look after our players. The welfare of our players always first and foremost. And so we, as we do, we look back on our processes, and our guys are outstanding with that. When I say our guys, I'm talking about our doctors on the day. They nailed it, so we'll just work our way through that.
Have you got the word mathematically up on a whiteboard in there? Mathematically, we're still a chance?
0.6%. Yeah, it's still possible. So you never want to give up on that, and we'll just believe in the footy gods and just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to have to beat some very good sides, and it starts with Hawthorn. Unfortunately, our start to the year has put us in this position, but we're just, as we said, when we came into this second half of the year, from our point of view, we wanted to finish this year off really strongly, and we've done that to this point. It'd be nice to get this one.
Is there any discussion at all about that mathematical possibility with the team?
Not so much. We don't go into the detail of it, but we don't really need to talk about it, to be honest with our players. They play the same way week in, week out. They're locked in on, it sounds like cliche, but they're looking at this week. They're not looking any further than that. But we sit around as a coaches group, make decisions around what we're doing dependent on, where we sit as a team. But it doesn't come up on a screen in front of our players, no.
We saw the way Jack Ginnivan got off the leash, admittedly against his old side, so added motivation, but not the typical player potentially you would tag, but do you need to have an extra focus on the way he can sort of light that side up?
Yeah, he's a fire starter, isn't he? He's an energy. He's actually entertaining to watch. It's it's why people love the game of footy. He's, plays with passion, and he does. When he's at his best, he really ignites them. So we'll put a fair bit of time in. But the danger with that is, Moore's an unbelievable, McDonald's, Watson, like you just keep listing them off. They're at the moment their cohesion's at its best. They're feeling confident. They're playing as good as any as a team, and that forward line is sort of where we're heading there. They're in some rare nick.
Max goes to Jack, does it?
Not necessarily, but yeah, there'll be some attention there. Max will obviously we trust Max the way he plays. His natural game is a very accountable game. We've got Bond at the moment too that's been playing. He plays a similar style of footy that we just know we can trust. So we'll have a look at it as far as a team goes. But yeah, we'll put some time into some of those small forwards ahead of the ball.
Was there I remember it might have been your last session before you had a break and over Christmas, and Zack Taylor was about 3 or 4 laps behind everyone at training, and it was a big Darren Burgess session, and it just looked like he was a million miles off the pace. What's happened in the past 7 or 8 months that's allowed him to now run our AFL games?
Yeah, he's put some work in, hasn't he? He's there was always a question mark on his endurance, and sometimes with that it's Zacky's shown he can run on a footy field. He enjoys the contest, and I've worked with a lot of players over my time where that's similar. Where if you put a ball in front of them and it's a competition, all of a sudden they'll find that second wind. Zacky's going to have to keep working on that endurance, and it's going to be pre-seasons are going to be tough for him each year, but they're going to get easier and easier as he gets more and more experienced. But he's winning awards, internal awards at the moment for just some of his effort off ball, which won't be seen on any show until we start winning more games and it gets analysed a little bit more, and teams are trying to find out what it is. But he's working as hard as any off ball to defend for us, to shift back and help. And it's really pleasing to watch. It's not surprising because he's put the work in and he knows what he has to focus on, but I think the step up to the next level has been a blessing for him. I think he's one of those players that has embraced that the more pressure, the larger crowd in the stadium, and he knows what his teammates need. So, yeah, really pleasing to see him playing some good footy.
Last couple of words. I think when you elevated Darcy Fogarty to the leadership group, one of the things you said was you'd hope that it'd help take his game to the next level. Yeah. What have you seen from him in that leadership space, particularly, I guess, referring to the other night when Tex is out, he's almost the leader of the forward line, he helps get you across the line. Yeah,
it looked like that, didn't it? It looked, the game, when we needed that leader to step up, it was all of a sudden Darcy was appearing in the screen, and it wasn't necessarily marked goal, it was contest. Again, things that maybe go unnoticed, but I'd say a lot of our supporters would have come out of that game and gone, wow, Darcy was huge. Darcy's been developing into that role. It's been a steep development for him. He's made massive ground as a leader. Off field, he's always been a player that talks up in meetings, that has opinions, that asks questions of others. But now with that added responsibility, we saw it on the weekend with Taylor not there, it was so pleasing to see him step up.
Brad didn't touch on the please explain, just to clarify, I think you said you're happy with the way the medical staff operate. Is that the opinion of the AFL, or are you still?
I think we're waiting on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that we've gone back as we do and make sure we've got things right, and I believe we have.
Are you a Katy Perry fan?
Massive Katy Perry fan. I just saw it myself too. Watching a little bit of Hawthorn, and then what are we doing for the grand final entertainment? Yeah, no, huge Katy Perry.
You're going to go to the concert then at the grand final?
Well, hopefully we'll be playing, so there's a 0.6% chance we'll be there. Actually, it's probably less than that.
Since the you guys have been really, really good, just how pleasing has that been for you to just watch the growth of your team?
That's why I'm in the job, yeah. It's why we coach. We coach to get to points like this where, under pressure, you're able to find your way out of it. And then, as I said, we're in a position now where I just want us to continually grow, and I want us to finish this year off strongly. That's like all of our coaching group. That's where we're at.